Welcome, everyone, to the Everything Show, episode 869. I am your host, Matrixlord212, and I'm with Chris. What's up, Chris?
What's going on?
So what happened on Rebels?
Okay, so this was the mid-season finale, I believe, so far for Season 3. So far, Season 3 has been okay. It's had its ups and downs, but this episode was really good. It was pretty fast-paced, and there were a couple of interesting things that happened. The Bendu character showed up again, and he's kind of been like the Yoda character for this season, and that is, of course, the character being voiced by Tom Baker. And yeah, and you know, he's a good character. He's definitely a good character. The most interesting thing about him is that he's not a light side or a dark side character. He's basically kind of like a gray Jedi, except of course he's not a Jedi. You know, I'm interested in his character because he's got such a wealth of knowledge that they go to him for a lot of things. So basically, the episode started out. They're on the Rebel base on the planet. I don't remember the name of the planet, but I just call it the Bendu's homeworld because that's where they found him there and they made their Rebel base there. They find him there, I believe, shortly after. And Ezra is being briefed on a mission that he and a couple of others are going to go on. And he keeps hearing someone call his name or like whisper his name, right?
Okay.
So he's looking around and Hera is like, what are you doing? I'm giving a brief here. You're not paying attention. You know, what the hell's going on? He's like, sorry. So he's looking around and all of a sudden he keeps seeing Maul show up in different places. And then finally he hears the voice from behind him and he turns around and Maul is standing right there. And he's like, you know, you gotta come find me, right? So the episode goes on, and Kanan takes Ezra to the Bendu, and he's like, you know, how do we stop him from seeing Maul? Or how do we stop Maul from contacting Ezra as well? And the Bendu says, well, I think, you got to tell me what this guy's like and whatnot. And they get onto the topic of the holocrons, when they united the holocrons, and Maul found out that Obi-Wan Kenobi was still alive. And the Bendu says, well, I told you not to unite those holocrons because when you do, it causes things that shouldn't happen to a Force user to happen. So he goes, so what do you want? What do you want? He asks Ezra, what do you want? And Ezra says, I want Maul to stop contacting me. I want to stop seeing Maul, is what he says. And the Bendu says, then don't turn around. Right? So they don't listen to him, right? They turn around, and Maul is standing there. And it's really him, like he's really there this time.
Okay.
So they're like, oh my gosh, right? So they turn around to the Bendu. Bendu's gone.
Right.
And they're like, what the hell? So they, of course, ignite their lightsabers. And Maul's like, listen, I'm not here to fight. But if I was, you would lose because I could just tell the Empire where you guys are.
Right.
And they're like, oh, fuck. So Maul says, listen, I saw when we united the holocrons, you asked a question and I asked a question. I saw what you wanted to see. You saw what I wanted to see, basically, right? So his whole thing is we have to get the knowledge that we want from each other, and the only way to do that is if you come with me. So, of course, Kanan's like, don't go, Ezra. Don't go. This is a bad idea. But Ezra says, well, how else are we going to stop this? So Ezra goes, and earlier on in the episode, Kanan tells Sabine, one of the other characters, she's actually a Mandalorian, he tells her to put a tracking device in Ezra's wrist comm link.
Okay.
So Ezra goes with Maul, and they go to Dathomir, which is Darth Maul's home planet.
Okay.
And on Dathomir is where the Night Sisters used to be. Now, the Night Sisters are characters that are from the old canon. They were brought back into Clone Wars. They had a big role in Clone Wars.
Okay.
And they died. I believe the Emperor killed most of them off himself because they were. Mother Talzin, who was the leader of this group, was so powerful that she could fight the Emperor if she had to.
Okay.
I don't know if she'd win, but she could fight him. But she's been killed. She was killed in a comic book that kind of bridged Clone Wars and Rebels.
Okay.
So Maul and Ezra are there, and they do this ritual that allows them to kind of get the knowledge from each other. And Maul asks, like, I need to know where he is. He asks, like, after they do the ritual, they both ask a question. And he's like, I need to know where he is. And Ezra says, I need to know how to destroy the Sith. and the ritual works for Maul, not Ezra.
Why?
Maul gets out of the ritual kind of trance that they were in, and he says he's on a planet with twin suns.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, they're talking about Tatooine.
Right.
Then Kanan and Sabine show up. And
So wait. Maul interrupts the transference and gets to see what he wants and then stops.
No, it finishes, but Ezra just, like, the answer to destroying the Sith isn't there. But what they're implying is that the answer to destroying the Sith is actually the same answer for both of them. So there's not like a separate answer for, I want to destroy the Sith. There's no answer for that. The answer is basically Luke Skywalker. But that's not the answer that Ezra was looking for. He thought that maybe there's like a thing that they could find that would destroy the dark side or something. But what they don't realize is that the answer to that question is basically the same thing for both questions.
Right.
I want to find Obi-Wan, Tatooine. I want to learn how to destroy the Sith. Luke is on Tatooine.
So they're both going to Tatooine.
Tatooine.
They're both going there.
Yeah. But they don't know. They don't know, actually. They don't know that it's Tatooine. All they know is that there's a planet with twin suns and that Obi-Wan Kenobi is on there. And they name drop Obi-Wan Kenobi tonight. They say Master Kenobi is still alive.
Oh.
And they're like, oh, we have to find him. But like I was saying, shortly before they do the ritual, Ezra is looking around Maul's like lair on Dathomir where they're going to do the ritual. And he finds the black lightsaber that Maul took from the Mandalorians that he had in Clone Wars.
Right.
And like, don't touch that. That's, not for you. And Ezra's like, what is that? Is it a lightsaber? And he goes, yes. But if you asked your Mandalorian friend, she'd probably be able to tell you all about it because she is a Mandalorian from the same clan that Maul killed to take over the planet.
Right.
Back in Clone Wars.
Mm.
So after the ritual, after they get their answer, Kanan and Sabine show up, and they get possessed by two of the spirits of the Night Sisters. Because when you do this ritual, it awakens the spirit of the Night Sisters.
Okay.
So Maul and Ezra are fighting them, and they get out of the cave. And Sabine and Kanan are still possessed. They can't leave the cave.
Right.
He's like, why can't they leave the cave? And Maul says, because when they're possessed, they have to stay in there.
Right.
Leave, their bodies will be free.
Right.
So Maul's like, listen, Ezra, this is what you have to do. Leave them here. Come with me. We'll fix everything. I'll make sure everything gets fixed.
So Maul was not a bad guy. He's just...
he's a bad guy. He's just not part of the Empire.
Okay. He's a bad guy.
He is a bad guy because he's trying to turn Ezra to the dark side.
Mm-hmm.
But Ezra now is like, hell no, I'm not going. And Maul's like, well, you're disappointing. And he leaves, right? So a lot of things happen. The most important thing is, of course, Ezra does find a way to get Kanan and Sabine unpossessed.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting thing at the end of the episode was Sabine takes the black lightsaber with her.
Oh.
And Ezra tells Kanan, I saw Master Kenobi. He's still alive.
Mm.
He's on a planet with twin suns.
Right.
So what I think they're leading up to here, because this is the halfway point in season 3, I think the next half is going to be them trying to find Obi-Wan.
And Darth Vader is not, he can't possibly know that Ben Kenobi's alive until Wars. Yeah,
he can't know. Because he says in that movie, I sense a presence that I haven't felt since.
And then he goes, right.
So no, I don't think Vader is going to show up actually on Tatooine or near Tatooine. I don't think that he's going to show up at all. I think this could go one of two ways. I think either Maul, in an attempt to find out what this planet is. Well, actually, no, I might be wrong. Because Maul in the episode says, so it ends where it began. So he might know it is Tatooine. I just remembered that. In the episode, he says, so it ends where it began. And I just remembered that Maul in episode 1 was on Tatooine.
Could it be possible that Darth Vader goes to Tatooine and Tatooine and kills Darth Maul before he even gets to Ben Kenobi?
Well, that's the problem. If he shows up on Tatooine, that's a big continuity error, in my opinion.
Well, he doesn't, not necessarily. I mean, he doesn't have to look for Ben Kenobi because you don't know exists.
No, he does know. He knows Kenobi's still alive.
Darth Vader.
Yes, he knows he's still alive, or at least he believes he is.
When did this happen?
In Episode 4, he never said that Kenobi was dead.
Right. Okay.
Tarkin said that he was dead. He says, surely he must be dead by now.
Mm-hmm.
And then Vader says, like, do not underestimate the power of the Force. I must face him alone. Here's my problem. They've implied in not Rebels, because they haven't really mentioned Luke in Rebels at all, but they've implied in other media that Luke is so powerful, even when he's not trained, that a Force user would be able to sense him. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So if Vader is anywhere near Tatooine, I'm going to call foul on that, because it's like Obi-Wan and Luke are on Tatooine.
Mm-hmm.
That's a powerful Force presence. Now, Obi-Wan can kind of cloak himself, I guess, but Luke... So I really don't want Vader showing up on Tatooine or anywhere near Tatooine. What I think's going to happen is Maul, at some point, maybe encounters Vader, and that's how he dies. That's like the lesser idea that I have.
Brought away from Tatooine?
He could be. I mean, maybe this is what I was going to say. I think Kanan and Ezra are going to figure out it's Tatooine. They're going to stop him from getting there, and then Vader might show up, or Ezra might kill Maul. But I think definitely Maul dies at the end of this season, because I don't think that they're going to keep him around.
Right, he has to die.
Yeah, he has to. Yeah.
Okay.
If this was earlier, like if this was earlier in the timeline, because we know now they're getting very close to Rogue One in the show. If this was anywhere earlier, like 10 years earlier, if this show was taking place, then I would say, yeah, Maul's going to go to Tatooine and he's going to fight Obi-Wan, and that's going to be how he dies. But seeing that Luke is either almost or is the same age that he is in Episode 4 in this show, I doubt that Maul's going to show up on Tatooine.
But they can't go another season.
They could.
They could.
They could, because what they could say is, if they are around between 4 and 5, they're doing other things. My issue with that is, by that time, Luke will already be in the rebellion. He would have already started his Jedi training. Wouldn't Leia, who already met Ezra and Kanan, be like, there's 2 other Jedi. Go talk to them. You know what I'm saying?
Didn't she show up already to help them anyway, or no?
She showed up in Rebels, yeah. And I think Season 2, she showed up in Rebels, yeah.
Okay. But she don't know the Jedi or anything.
She does know. I'm pretty sure she knows that they're both Jedi.
Okay.
Yeah. Which technically, I mean, if you want to get really, really technical, which I don't like doing because I think there's issues with this. Technically, Ezra is not a Jedi, and Kanan is not a Jedi either.
Okay.
But they're trying to be Jedi, so it's like...
Okay. But they're all supposed to die before Star Wars takes place too, right? I mean...
I would assume so, but knowing the old canon, even back then, not all the Jedi were dead.
So we could be in a situation where Rebels, the next half of the season's up until what, June or July?
I think so. It depends on when it starts.
And it would have to be the final season, unless after that would be after Episode 4.
Yeah.
So they would have to deal with new stuff.
Yeah.
And if they're going to go a couple of years, they're going to go into Empire, right?
Yeah. I don't think Rebels goes past season 4 if they're going to do another season. Here's why I say that. Because like you just said, if they keep going, they're going to run into Empire, which...
Well, couldn't it be this? This is what makes more sense, right?
Yeah.
You already... Darth Vader, Ben Kenobi dies, right?
Yeah.
They escape. So, technically, after that, he could bump into them and already knows that Ben Kenobi was alive and dead. And then he's like, well, maybe I missed some, like Darth Vader, right? Like, couldn't he just, wipe them out around after, like, in other words, maybe could go 2 years?
He already met them, Vader, and he already fought them, and he destroyed both of them at the same time. Like,
Okay.
really, like,
But I'm saying, couldn't he, like, be more inclined to kill them more than ever now? Because after that dealing with Ben Kenobi and Star Wars, then it's like, now I really need to clear the path of all these people who are trying to become Jedi or Sith or whatever, right?
It is possible. I don't think they're going to need to go that far because.
And you know for a fact there's going to be a season 4.
I don't know for a fact, but
Okay.
I know that there's obviously going to be another half of season 3, and I have not heard any stories that are saying this is the last season.
Okay.
So, and here's another thing too. Even though it's just an Easter egg, if that is indeed the ghost that shows up in Rogue One, they could technically go another season and just keep it very early, very, very early in the years between 4 and 5. And then say before even 5, before you even get close to the year that episode 5 takes place in,
Right.
at least Kanan and Ezra are dead. Because there's no issue if the other members of the Ghost crew survive.
Okay.
Because they're not force sensitive, they can survive. In fact, they've already confirmed that Captain Rex survives at least till Return of the Jedi.
Well, how many episodes? I'm not. How much time between Star Wars and Empire? How many years? Technically.
I'm not entirely sure. I've never been clear with how many years are between them. I know that there's 32 years between 6 and 7, but other than that, I'm not.
I mean, couldn't they say it's like 2 years or something?
Let me look it up because there is a.
Man, I'm not talking about the release date from Star Wars to Empire, years of that.
You're talking about in universe. How long has there?
Like
how long
in the Star Wars timeline.
Yeah.
After Star Wars was done, like, is it 2 years after that, and then it's Empire, or is it 3 years, or is it 4 years?
There's a 3-year gap between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back.
Not movie release date. I'm talking about character development.
There's a whole 3 years where Luke is acknowledged as the savior of the rebellion, the hero of Yavin 4. Yes, so
3 years. So
3 years.
technically, we could have 7 seasons of Rebels.
I don't think we're going to have 7 seasons. I don't even think we're going to have 5. I think they'd stop at 4.
Okay.
Because there are rumors. There's nothing to substantiate these rumors, so this is why I don't really like talking about them. But there are rumors that they are planning another animated series, but the rumors say that it would take place between either 6 and 7 or 7 and 8. I think they're going to go 6 and 7 because after 8, I think they're going to be like, here's all this stuff.
So the series would be Luke, Leia, Han.
Well, we don't know.
Up until Force Awakens.
We don't know what the story would be. Again, we don't even know if that's true. I don't think.
I mean, showing how Kylo and all that stuff.
It could be, but I doubt we're even going to see that.
Okay.
But for right now, Rebels is. I think they're on break for now.
Okay.
And then when the season comes back, I think we're obviously going to get another trailer.
Okay.
Because there's another loose end here that.
When does it come back?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
But there's another loose end that they need to wrap up here.
Okay.
That is Ahsoka. Now, we know that she's most likely still alive on the planet, on Malachor.
Right.
The last time we saw her, she was fighting Vader, and she damaged his mask, and he left, and then we see her kind of walking down the steps of this temple. She's still alive. She is not considered a Jedi, but she's a very powerful Force user.
Okay.
So either A, she gets left on that planet, or B, she gets involved somehow in other things. So they need to tie that up because I don't think you can have her just running around while 4, 5, and 6 are going on.
I see.
So they need to answer that too.
So it returns probably in January.
I'm assuming that sounds right. I mean, probably the end of January.
Okay, I'm trying to look it up right now.
Which, I mean, again, if they wanted to do season 4 and season 3 ended in like, let's say March or April, if they wanted to do like season 4, they could do that in the fall and then have it split up like this season, have it end right before episode 8, and then come back for the final, half of season 4 and the series finale in the spring of 2018, and then that would end the show.
I'm just trying to see. Just says January 2017.
Yeah.
That's what it basically says. All right. So that's that. And you're happy overall with the finale?
I'm happy with the finale. I've been happy with the past couple episodes. There was 2 episodes beforehand that were terrible. They were so. I mean, they weren't terrible.
It's fillers, right? I mean, basically.
They were so boring. Even for filler, like you can have good filler.
Right.
But this was just boring. And a lot of it just didn't make sense.
Right.
It was like they had these like battle droids that showed up, and it was they were there for like 2 minutes, and it was like, okay, who cares? I mean, it was. I think they could have had better filler, maybe exploring, maybe some Force things or something. Maybe show Ezra learning something new, or talking to the Bendu, maybe. But they didn't do that, and I don't know why.
All right. Thanks a lot, Chris.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye for now.